Okay, so this the third method is using a new module that Procare has. It's been out maybe about a year, and it's called the Activity Manager. Now, Activity Manager, just conceptually, works really well for situations where you have all kinds of different camps or programs or activities that people could sign up for. It would, to me, work really well in kind of a YMCA type setting, or if you're like a karate dance studio setting where you've got all kinds of things. Say you want to print out a catalog of the different programs and sessions that you're offering. It also works well in a case where you have prerequisites. So I have some kind of camps or programs going on, but let's say I had soccer camps. But in order to take soccer camp 2, you have to have passed soccer camp 1, right? Or swimming, right? You have to get to guppies, you have to have passed minnows or something like that. Activity Manager is really good for those types of situations. So let me show you kind of a configuration screen where you can set those things up, and then we'll talk about how to assign those to families. From the Procare home screen, this is under Configuration System, and this is a module that you would need to add to Procare to enable it. It's under Data Management, and we're going to go, I'm going to look at two things. First, I want to look at scheduling, because I want to show you that I would need to set up certain work areas for Activity Manager. If, normally I have my work areas are also the things that are going to be classrooms, like infants and toddlers. But with Activity Manager, if I'm going to have different locations where the activities occur, I could set up like Field 1, Field 2 for soccer games. I could have main swimming pool, auxiliary swimming pool. I could have all kinds of other locations that might make sense. I could have, art room, science room, things like that. So if you're going to have activities that take place in different locations, you could set up different work areas for that. Okay, then you go to the Activities section. Double-click on that, and you can create different groups of activities. So right now I've got several different examples. I've got kind of a generic day camp one. This works really well if basically I'm offering a day camp, different sessions throughout the summer, but essentially it's the same camp. It's not, I don't have to keep track of multiple different kinds of camps. I could put it all under one kind of generic one called day camp. Or if I have different kinds of camps, I would probably create a different category for each one. If I had science camp and I offered that at different times, I had art camp and I offered that at different times or different days or different sessions. Also, if I had the things that might have prerequisites like various levels of soccer, various levels of swimming, various levels of dance or gymnastics, those types of things, this would be a good way to set those up. Let's take a look at what one looks like. So day camp, if I go to Manage, I have a list of all the different sessions I'm offering, and it shows the number of kids enrolled. Now, I've got these set up to start kind of more at this time of year, but you can set these up in advance for the summer. And let's take a look at one. So I've got, let's see, one that's going on soon. So I've got one coming up in May. So here's a day camp 3, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's happening in May into June. If I double-click on that, I get to assign a name. I get to say if there are any prerequisites. In this case, it's just my day camp that's running at that time frame, so there's no prerequisite for it. When does that particular session of camp start and end? Do I want to charge for it? In other words, when I said, do I want to charge for it at the time I assign the camp to the child? If I do, then I would put in a charge description here and an amount, and when I assign this to the kid, the parent's going to get charged for it right then. So if they're signing up ahead of time, it's going to charge them right away. Is there a limit to how many kids can be in that day camp? And then some comments that this would print out, like if you print out a catalog or something, these comments would print out on it. You need to assign an instructor. Could be one of your teachers, or you can add somebody new if you don't have somebody, say there's an outside person who's coming in to teach this class. They're not one of your regular staff. You could add somebody new here. And then you would assign what location it's going to be in. In this case, it's the day camp room, but this could be Field 1. This could be the swimming pool, any place that occurs, what days and what time sessions. So it's pretty easy to set these up, and then you can make a copy of it if you're going to have additional ones for additional time. Say you want to make a copy of this because you're going to offer day camp level 3, but at a different either on different days of the week or in a different time of the year. You can make a copy of it. And that's what I did to create all these other different day camps. Let's take a look at one other one, soccer. Soccer level 2 is going to have a prerequisite. I just want you to get an idea of what that looks like. So when I go in here, this is intermediate soccer. I've got these different sessions set up. I'll double click on this session. At the top it says the prerequisite is soccer level 1. So that's going to mean when I assign soccer 2 to a child, it's going to look to see if they've already completed soccer 1, and if not, it's going to give me a message saying, hey, this child hasn't met the prerequisites. Now you can choose to override that and say, well, that's okay, because there could be some reason they moved from another state, and they've already taken soccer 1 at some other place, and so I'm going to just kind of waive that for them. So it will alert you though if they haven't met the prereq. So that's the basic setup of it. Let's take a look at what that looks like on a child's screen. So Activity Manager adds a little icon to the child that looks like a soccer ball. You can click on that and assign activities. Here I've got 3 different day caps assigned to Peter. He's completed one of them. There's a little checkbox there. I could add a new camp. So let's say, for example, let's try that soccer level 2 just so you can see what would happen. I'm going to assign him soccer level 2. You'll see he has not taken soccer level 1. You can see that in the background. I'm trying to assign him soccer level 2 for this particular session. And it says here the account ledger will be charged $60, so it's going to charge it immediately when I save it. Oh wait, the prerequisite soccer 1 has not been completed. Do you want to add this child anyway? So you could say, oh no, I did the wrong one. That's not right. He's supposed to be in soccer 1, not soccer 2. Or you could say, yes, we know that. It's okay. We're waiving the prerequisite for him. So we're going to say yes, exit. And now it added soccer level 2 to his activities. And if we go and look at the ledger card for that family, it will have immediately charged the soccer level 2 fee to the account. There are a couple other things that you can do with this. You can batch assign activities, which is pretty nice. Functions, Activity Manager, batch assign. This would make sense if you had a list of kids, say you had a sign-up list, everybody signs up for the activities, and now you want to process them all at once. You can come to this screen and say, I want to do everybody who signed up for science camp for this particular week or this particular session, and look, I've got 1 kid assigned already. You then type in the first few letters of their name. Let's say it's, BU. Okay, there's Kelly Bundy. She signed up. Click the arrow to add her to the list. Let's see her, and let's see, I want to type in who else. I'll clear that out. I'll get everybody back. And so you can scroll or you can type in the name, whichever works better. Add them to the list. When they're not green, that means it hasn't been saved yet. So that family has not been billed yet. The person who's green, they've already been previously marked. So now I can say save, turns them green, and if I had a charge set up for that, it says right here, 150, it would then have charged that to them. And it also tells me that I have 3 of 12 kids assigned, so I can pretty quickly tell if I'm getting to my limit or not. If I take a camp that has a prerequisite, like soccer level 2, and I pick a session, you'll see everybody turns red who has not yet met that prerequisite. And so I could even hide them. I don't have anybody who's met the prerequisite yet, but I could even hide them so I'm only looking at kids who were eligible if I want to. And then you can also unassign kids from activity. Let's say I wanted to take Chris off this activity. I just click on his name, arrow him off. The child has already been assigned and may have already been charged. Do you want to move him anyway? I'll say yes. It does take him off, but if I had already charged him, I would need to go back to his ledger card and maybe issue a refund or a credit because it's not going to take any charge off his account by doing that. So that's the basic idea of batch assigning activities. I'll save my changes. The last thing you can do with Activity Manager, you can mark the activities as complete very quickly. You could go through and say soccer level 1. Have I got anybody assigned to that? I do. Okay, these kids have completed it. You could type in a comment, successfully completed, or needs work on something, if you needed to do that, some kind of evaluation, and you could say no, they didn't complete it, and you could save that. And that's going to go toward whether or not they meet the prerequisite. So that's the basic idea of Activity Manager. Any questions on that? And then I think I owe you a couple of responses on, I think, because we had several people who said that they do accept deposits, so I wanted to cover deposits as well. Okay, so how many, well, let me just get a show of hands. How many people want to see an example of how deposits would work, accepting a deposit for summer and then crediting it back or part of it back to the family once summer hits? Okay, Deanna, Lisa. Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and put the hands down. So if I'm doing deposits, I would pick whichever family that I'm working on for that. So let's say the Adams family. I can go to their ledger card, and I'm taking a deposit for the summer. So by default, Procare comes with several preset deposit descriptions. You can have up to 5 by default. You can actually add more, I think, if you need them. But let's go in here. So I have deposit general, deposit summer. So I could just type D until deposit comes up. But so this is not a bank deposit, right? This is money I'm setting aside to pay for something in the future. So I'm going to say I'm taking a deposit for summer. I'm taking it today, today's date, or maybe, I don't know, usually it'd be today's date. Let's say I'm doing it tomorrow. I probably don't need a comment, but I could say who it's for. Maybe this is for, deposit for both children, or maybe it's deposit just for one particular child, something like that. And then it defaults to whatever I said my standard deposit was going to be for that. 35 probably too low, so I don't know what a typical deposit might be. It probably depends on how much the summer programs are. Let's say it's $100. I can put that in there, and then I'll tap enter, and now they owe me that $100, right? And I could, let me say post and exit because I want you to see what happens when I come back. So I'm going to come back to the ledger. Now I see deposit summer is on there. The balance is now $160 because they owed me $60 from a soccer class as well. You'll see now that there's a deposit button on the screen that shows I have on account a $100 deposit. That I can refund to them later. Now they really haven't paid me yet, so typically the way this would work is I would also put in P for payment by check or payment by cash. Or if you're using Tuition Express, the next time you process Tuition Express, it would collect this additional money for the summer deposit, right? Or you might be doing payment at check-in, and the family could pay when they check in. But so let me do, I meant to do payment by check there. Payment by check. Now my comment's probably the check number. And let's say they're paying me the $100 for the deposit for summer. And I post that. If I want to look at it later, I'll see that they now have, well, now their balance is $60. But they paid me for the $100 deposit. So now I've got a $100 deposit on account. Now what that's doing for me as a center is it's keeping track of the fact that they paid the deposit, and it's not counting it as revenue right now. So if I ran a financial report, that deposit would not be counting as revenue. It would be withheld, and it would be set aside as what's called a liability, meaning I need to do something with it later. And so the idea with this conceptually then is when it gets to be summer, and let's say I ran automatic billing now and I charged them for that first week of summer camp. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to manually put it on the ledger, but if I did automatic billing, it would be essentially doing the same thing. So let's say I did summer all day, and let's say it's 2 kids. Let's say it was $120. Okay, and now it shows that they owe me, $180 because they owed me some money from before. But it raises the amount they owe me, and then you could say, oh well, they don't really need to pay me that amount right now, that $120, because I'm going to take their deposit out of that. I'm going to give them a refund for the deposit they've already, or a credit, I should say credit. I'm going to refund that deposit to them, giving them a credit on their account. Then I would say, I type D for deposit, or DE, and if I scroll down, I have deposit refund summer. And I would go, okay, credit for prepaid deposit. And then if I tap enter, it's going to take their balance. Well, it shouldn't have been $35. It put in my default amount. I want to put it in the $120 or $100 that they originally deposited. Okay, So that would then reduce their balance. So, and you'll see that this deposit button then goes back to 0. So the concept with a summer deposit is you'd post the deposit, you'd post the payment, you'd post the later when it gets to be summer, you'd post a charge for summer, and then you could refund some or all of that back to them, and that's going to bring their deposit on account then back to 0. So that's the concepts on that. So let me go ahead and post that. All right. So I think we've come to the end of the broadcast. We're just a little over our hour, but I'm happy to stay for a while and ask additional questions, answer additional questions, and that will be it. So thanks for attending today's broadcast.